Alice outside Buckingham Palace there, and I think it's wonderful. I was in Northern Ireland at the weekend, but my wife felt she had to go down to Buckingham Palace. You were down there, you were working at Buckingham Palace, whatever, and I think it's amazing people paying tribute. But there's been an appeal in the parks around Buckingham Palace and whatever, Green Park and Hyde Park and whatever, and outside Buckingham Palace, for people to refrain from jamming up pieces of bread and making them into marmalade sandwiches and leaving them outside the palace for the rats. Because basically that's what you're doing. You're attracting vermin, the rats, the mice, and goodness knows what else.
They're not, because they're being cleared away very, very quickly.
Well, it's a real problem, isn't it? It's a real problem.
Well, that's not...
So I'm saying, think about it. However nice it is, don't make a marmalade sandwich and leave it for other people to clear up.
But if you do, bring them to GBNEWS. We'll eat them.
I wouldn't eat a marmalade sandwich. I'd eat marmalade toast.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would want a marmalade sandwich.
Well, yes,
marmalade toast is lovely.
Well, as you can see or hear, we are joined by Christopher Biggins and Dawn Neeson to take us through the newspapers. And look, it's
what type of marmalade do you prefer, Dawn? My favourite is Rose's lime. Lemon and lime marmalade.
I'm going to be sacrilegious here. I don't like marmalade.
Sorry, I've said it, but I love marmalade.
Do you like Seville marmalade?
I like a what do they call it? Is it a large cut or something?
Yes, with chunky bits.
Chunky bits. I like that. I like all marmalades.
I can imagine you do.
Yeah.
Imagine you do. But I like it on toast, and I like Rose's. Isabel, do you have a preference?
I can't. I'm trying to think of the name of the. I can visualise it. I think it has a royal emblem on the side, but I can't remember the type that it is. I'll Google it and get back to you.
Okay.
Get back to you.
Thanks very much indeed, everybody. Morning, Eamonn and Isabel. As head of my family, I've been watching. This is John. I've been watching my wife and children getting upset about the Queen this morning, and I watched the clip of the Queen with Paddington Bear and the marmalade sandwich. And my own tears just started strolling down my face. But yes, I get that, totally get that. I just don't get that you should make them and bring them down and set them under a tree for rats.
In all seriousness, it's not just...
I'm serious.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, it's not just the toast, it's not just the Paddington Bears, and it's not just all the lit candles, but it's also the cellophane wrapped flowers. They're saying they only want sustainable tributes to Her Majesty, stuff that can decompose naturally within the parks over time. And some people are going along as sort of public-minded and removing all the cellophane from the flowers that are being left, because it is an environmental disaster. And you know how much Charles...
I do remember London when Diana died 25 years ago. The beautiful fragrance and scent and the lovely outpouring that people were able to demonstrate their grief through floral tributes. But I just think draw the line with the sandwiches and the bears. I mean, what would you could open a shop for all those Paddington Bears. What's going to happen to them? They're not going to be able to decompose.
Someone will be making money from it, so
yeah.
UK PLC. Dawn, should we turn our attention to the Times? You've chosen this story entitled Prince of Wales, and it's about William vowing to serve Wales with humility and respect.
And there is a seamless link between marmalade sandwiches as well, because there's obviously now going to be running the Duchy of Cornwall, and I'm sure they also do a very nice marmalade somewhere along the line and everything else. It's worth £1 billion a year, evidently. But this is obviously William is now Prince of Wales, and I still keep thinking of Prince Charles when I say that, or King Charles. And obviously Catherine is Princess of Wales, which is obviously Diana's title, and it's so evocative of Diana's memory, the Princess of Wales. But obviously this was announced in Charles's speech, and William has vowed to serve Wales with the same humility and dignity and respect that his father did. He is obviously he was based in Anglesey when George was a little boy. Flying helicopters there, so they have very happy memories of Wales and that part of Wales in particular. And William is he's learnt the Welsh national anthem, and he is now set on learning the language as his father did.
Famously.
Absolutely, by going when he was I think he was 21 at the time, wasn't he, when he was announced Prince of Wales. So they're taking to it very seriously, and I think The thing is with William and Catherine, I've even started calling her Catherine now rather than Kate, which is weird. I think they are going to hit the ground running with this. I think they are very determined, like our Charles, and certainly like the Queen, to carry on and serve with that dedication and that duty. I'm sure they'll do a brilliant job.
I have no doubt that King Charles is absolutely capable and ready for the job. I don't like how some of the press are making out that he's a novice. Liz Truss is a novice, but I don't think Charles is a novice.
Certainly not.
He's job all his life.
Exactly, and he's a wonderful. He would be relishing the years that he's had to learn it all, and he's a learned man. He wants to make this special, and he will.
Let's talk about the Queen's funeral. We know it's going to be a week today, the build-up. Goodness me, what a day that's going to be. And the Sun have covered this biggins, talking about the preceding 12-hour queues expected whilst she lies in state at Westminster.
Yeah, they say it's going to go from Westminster, the queue, and go all the way to Tower Bridge, which is extraordinary. It's a 3-mile, 12-hour queue to see the Queen. I want to go. I'm in Plymouth all this week working, and so I get back on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and I think I'm going to go along. But the trouble is, we're both not with bad knees. Exactly, and there must be a way you can get in with
VIP.
Well, not a VIP, but a
blue pass.
A blue pass.
Mobility issue.
Exactly, because if you can't queue up for 12 hours.
We could have assisted viewing, assisted boarding.
Shall I put our names down?
We could be wheeled around.
Yeah, we could be wheeled around. But I'm sure there has to be a system like
What
that.
you shouldn't try doing, gentlemen, is queue jumping, because they are going to be very firm, and if anyone tries to queue jump, they will be thrown out.
I very accidentally queue jumped the signing of the Book of Condolences at Harrods.
Accidentally?
Yes, I was with my godmother in Harrods, and we weren't actually there to sign it. We were walking through the lobby, and there was a huge queue on the stairs, and we almost got body bagged out the building, was scooped up and thrown out. Well, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry.
Did they not mistake you for Catherine Middleton?
I wasn't around then.
Was she not?
We were 15 at the time.
Oh, right.
She was around, but she wasn't, she wasn't royal. But yeah, goodness me. By the way, I've looked up the type of marmalade that I like.
Yes.
It's Wilkin and Sons Limited.
Oh, yes, divine.
That's the one I have
Yes,
in my
very
fridge
good.
top shelf.
Yeah.
Other marmalades
Are
are available. Robertson's. There's what other stuff do we have? What else? Hartley's. They still have Hartley's.
Oh, I'm sure Hartley's are still there.
I used to get Hartley's,
Yes, I believe
and they had
I do.
pictures of dogs. You used to screw off your lid on Hartley's, and they had collie dogs, Alsatian dogs, corgis.
Yeah.
Used to collect them. Did you never do that?
No, never. Was it an Irish thing?
Because you were too busy buying this posh gem.
Exactly. Costing a fortune.
By appointment to the household of Isabel Webster. There it is.
Dawn, should we talk about... let's stick with the royal theme to start with. Christopher, you've chosen this in the Telegraph about the corgis, and there's been much talk about what's going to happen to the corgis that were given to Her Majesty to console her last year after losing the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yes, I think what's going to happen is that the Yorks are going to look after them. I think that Andrew and Fergie have taken responsibility of looking after them, and I think it is a responsibility because they're quite something. I mean, you have a dog, Eamonn. You know how responsible it is. You've got to take them for walks and things and feed and.
Towards the end of the programme, we have a breeder coming in who's an expert on corgis to talk about the attributes of the breed, because they're not something I know a lot about, short of them having little tiny legs. There's nothing really.
Big ears.
And I don't know if they're affectionate dogs, if they're.
I think they're quite spiteful, I hear.
Yappy.
They're quite yappy.
Yeah, they're very noisy.
Yeah, I think they are.
Actually, the only time I've got up close and personal with Her Majesty was when she was driving a car off-road in the Highlands of Scotland, and all the windows were steamed up in the 4x4, and it was the back seat was filled with yapping, squeaking corgis.
Gosh.
And there she was speeding along at high speed up in the mountains off-road. It was amazing, just bumping into her like that.
So the dogs are now going to go back to Andrew and Sarah, aren't they?
Yes, they are. That's
which is lovely. I mean, how many has the Queen had? I mean, she's done 15 Prime Ministers, but I think it's double the amount of dogs, probably treble the amount of dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
The monarch's dogs used to be euthanized upon the death of a sovereign, so that they could be buried with them.
Gosh.
I think that was a tradition. It's obviously not happening this time round, so no one please worry. But the other issue is obviously her stables, her horses' stables. I mean, so
what happens there?
Well, Charles
He's the other great lover. Anne's a horse
Anne,
lover.
obviously, and I would love Anne to do it, but evidently Charles inherits the stables, but it's going to be Camilla, who has a real passion for horses, that is going to be running the show. And I think 3 of the Queen's horses are actually running this Wednesday as well in the royal colours. Which is exactly what she would want, isn't it?
Well, here's a horrible story. I hope it's not true, Dawn. In the Times, page 20. The Magic Roundabout, the most hideous programme that was ever invented on Earth.
Why?
Bringing it back because it was hideous and it was French and it was dubbed, and the idea that children were supposed to like it, well, and they all hated it.
What did you prefer then, Eamonn? What kids' cartoon was your favourite?
Oh, Top Cat was sophisticated and humorous, based on Sergeant Bilko. Brilliant one. Rhubarb and Custard was even all right. But yeah, there's plenty of fantastic. Magic Roundabout was hideous.
It's up there with the Clangers. I must admit, the Clangers always did my head in.
Oh, they agree with you. That's another lot of
That's
nonsense.
still going.
Yeah, that was just like, what drugs were they on?
You did the voiceover, didn't you, Eamonn?
Oh, goodness. So anyway, Dougal the dog and that stupid Brian the Snail and all these.
Right, okay, can we show some respect for the Magic Roundabout? It's springing back into life. New series, Dougal the dog, Zebedee the Jack-in-the-Box and Florence the little girl and all the other characters. It's half a century ago this was last on air, and it was, as you're right, Eamonn, it's a French animated show, and we had a quirky British version.
Quirky, that means it was crap. Yeah, that's what that means.
A slightly adult.
Quirky, I hate when you say it's slightly quirky. I mean, it's rubbish. That's what it means. Quirky does mean rubbish.
Different,
Quirky is a word that you use as an embarrassment.
Well, I'll remember that.
Isabel has quite quirky tastes in fashion,
I would
or whatever.
sometimes think that means edgy and trendy.
I think
rubbish.
I think Isabel has more quirky taste in colleagues some mornings.
Lucky her.
Emma Thompson's father.
That's right.
Brought it to England.
I don't know what he did with it. Was he the voice?
I think he adapted it all. I think he took the scripts and made them into English and translated them, and I think he was some of the voices, but it was all down to him. So have a go at Emma.
In any case, it's coming back. Eamonn will be thrilled. So time for bed, Zebedee and all that. Eamonn, something to look forward to. It's coming back in 2024.
Who was on the spring?
Zebedee.
Yes.
I really want to talk about Ukraine, if you don't mind, everybody, because there's such big news coming out of Ukraine, such positive news, and I think if it wasn't for the huge events happening here in the UK, this would be front and centre of all the news, because it's the biggest defeat for the Russian forces since March, and you've chosen this, Dawn, from the Daily Mail.
Yeah, there is a roll link. This is page 20. This is how far back the coverage of other stories is, although there is a roll link to this particular aspect of the Ukraine. It's basically that taking part, there's a huge counter-offensive over this weekend that's recaptured large swathes of territory on the Russian front line, which has basically collapsed. So it's very good news coming out of Ukraine. But there is this very emotive clip been put online. It's a Ukrainian soldier who's heading to the front line, full battle fatigues, going through one of the forests, and he's posted online a tribute, a eulogy to Her Majesty. Dear brothers and sisters from Great Britain, the death of Her Majesty Queen is a tremendous loss to the whole civilised world. She was more than the Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. She was the Queen of her age. Her Majesty had battled evil 80 years ago, fighting the Nazi threat. Nowadays, we fight a new threat to the whole civilised world, and it's just very emotive the way it's done. And this young man was on his way to the front line, and who knows whether he'll come back. But yeah, she obviously moved people around the world.
Absolutely.
We're talking about signing royal proclamations. I mean, I have a certificate in my office, framed, signed by Her Majesty the Queen, and it's a beautiful flourished signature on it, Elizabeth R. And Charles was having a bit of difficulty, or actually how he would sign proclamations already.
Yeah, but this was extraordinary, and I think this showed another side of him, because he was signing it and there was a problem with the pens. and he sort of said to someone to his right, "Get rid of these pens," or something like that. It was a really aggressive look he gave, and intonation in his voice. And there's poor Camilla behind can see that there's a problem, and shall I help or shan't I help? But anyway, it was interesting, and I think people picked up on it. This was another side to Charles III.
Well, he's a man that knows what he wants.
He certainly does.
You know, I was doing a raffle on Saturday at a charity event, and it was unbelievable. So we started off doing this raffle and ticket blue 152. What is this for? And I swear to you, I thought that everything was going in lots. I thought Mr. Biggins is going to win this, that, whatever it is. There were like 135
Oh my
prizes
goodness.
and a crowd of people there. So I started bunging them all up. I started saying, well, we're going to give the next 10 away to this, and we're going to do that. So you suddenly, and you seem like as if you're a sportsman, but you know how these things work. And he sat down there and he knows how this works. And he needed time and he needed space to sign.
Yeah.
And someone's given him 3 pens. I often see this with American presidents. There are a number of pens in case, I suppose, one doesn't work and they have
Didn't
to
he
sign.
famously want 7 eggs of a morning, and they would take the head off all 7 eggs, and he would choose which egg was the best one for his soldiers? And I just wondered if they thought it was the same with the pens, that he wanted 3 pens and would just.
Apparently he only has some light fruit.
Well,
for his
apparently
breakfast.
that's fruit.
And the other thing was his butler had to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush every morning for him. I mean, I suppose when you're used to that sort of thing, like you are, Eamonn.
But I'll tell you this, Biggins. If I had money, the best thing anybody can have is staff.
Oh, I couldn't
You
agree more.
imagine getting up, someone to dress you, someone to set your shaving gear out, someone to make your bed, open the windows.
I know.
Someone go downstairs, someone to have breakfast for you.
I like to
I don't
slob
care.
about in my own.
I
It's
wouldn't
like
care.
a hotel. See, eventually when Mrs. Holmes passes on and whatever, I will hire staff. I will have staff.
I agree.
I will spend. Do you know if you get an insurance payout?
The wife will be replaced with staff.
Staff.
So many men just see their wives as staff. don't they?
Yes, thank you, Eamonn. Yes.
Unbelievable.
But years ago, I played Nero in I, Claudius, and of course, Nero was the most amazing. I think he had about 150 servants that would just look after him. I mean, it was just wonderful. That's what I liked. I'd like that. I'd like servants galore.
I agree with you. That is the great
But we can all
privilege
dream.
of royalty.
Yeah, exactly.
To be able to do that.
I don't want
But,
to squeezing my toothpaste, thank you very much. I'll do my own.
Yeah.
no, well, I don't. When you get old like me and Biggins,
Yeah, exactly.
yes, you want
Yeah.
people around you. But I think going back to Her Majesty, and I think this is the difference between her and Meghan Markle, that she knew she was there to serve. Meghan Markle, I think, was there for things to happen as an American starlet. I think there's a difference in their attitude towards things. Thanks very much indeed, guys.
Very.
Here comes the national anthem.